You join me this morning prepping for the Supercar Owner UK Scotland tour, which starts tomorrow and runs until Saturday. SCUK is the first car club I joined back when I bought my first sports car, which was a 450 brake horsepower Audi TT-RS in Ara Blue. Absolutely love that car. I figured I'd do a little video like this to share what these kind of trips can be like, what to expect if you're thinking of doing one and you're not sure what to expect. As we are doing a tour, they do have suggestions and recommendations on what to bring and what to have in place, so I'm just going to go through and start to get everything ready. Pretty key for any driving trip is the radio. Most groups will suggest a MyTex General, and of course we can't forget the charger. I've got a little driving bag here with a few things that I like to bring along. Probably the most important is some spare oil, of course, but there are some cloths, gloves, and some other cleaning bits. Interesting fact, McLarens don't tell you when their oil level is low. You have to run an oil check protocol from within the car while you're on your driveway. I did buy this for a French trip earlier this year, but didn't need to use it. But I also have some octane booster in the event some remote petrol station we stop at doesn't have any premium fuel. I also have a funnel for such an eventuality. Okay, so tyre pressures and fluids. We'll double check that before we leave. Same with the oil, but the car was actually MOT'd yesterday and was in with McLaren earlier this morning for a new set of tyres. Given the weather forecast, I wasn't brave enough to make the trip with the tyres that were on there, given they were getting a little bit worn, especially on the front. Breakdown cover, we have McLaren Assist on speed dial, Google Maps and routes. So a few days before the trip, the club tends to share a PDF document with all the routes and waypoints and everything for each day. The tour is normally split into a few groups with 7 to 10 cars each, and I've normally got the phone mounted in the car anyway, so it means that when we stop for food and checkpoints and everything, I can just grab the phone and load up the next route, so no problems there. I am staying overnight tonight, the night before, which is nearer to where things kick off in the morning. It just makes life a little bit easier rather than travelling up from Cheshire tomorrow morning to get to the meeting point for 8 a.m. and getting stuck in morning traffic and everything, which is obviously a grind. We also have a passenger for this trip, at least for a small part of it anyway. We'll be making a pit stop along the way to drop off this little guy, as there'll be no one home while I'm away. Right, let's get loaded up.
Yeah.
You don't think that spending on government services has been slashed?
Let me zoom out a
Do you
little.
think the police spending's been slashed?
Well, just like that, the tour is done and we're back home. I didn't dare have the cameras outside the car while it was raining hard, but I did get as much footage as I could to give you an idea of what the trip was like. The night before, we weren't really sure what the weather would be like. No one likes driving in the rain in a supercar, or maybe that's just me. But we all arrived at the meeting point to pretty much blue sky and dry roads. So it looked like things would get off to a pretty good start. Everyone met at the services at around 8 o'clock, grabbed a coffee and a snack before the driver's briefing started at 8:30. This is where the group leaders run through the rules. The general gist is don't drive like a tool and do dangerous stuff. Amazing selection of cars as always, plenty of Ferraris, Porsches, McLarens, etc. As there are quite a lot of cars, everyone is put into one of 3 groups. Normally a group sets off one at a time to put a little bit of distance between everyone, so we're not all bunched up on some of the rural back roads and clogging up petrol stations, but we'll come back to that in a minute. We headed north initially, went through some lovely Yorkshire Dales countryside and headed towards the lovely roads in the Pennines. Weather was still good at this point, thankfully. Our group leader is responsible for calling out any oncoming traffic over the radio to ensure overtakes are safe, what obstacles might be in the road, and communicate kind of what's ahead, such as changing in road conditions, potholes, loose gravel, that sort of thing. At certain points, the group does get separated. Say if you get stuck behind some slow-moving cars or at some traffic lights. But the group is always in constant communication anyway over the radio, but it can be quite fun catching them up before you get out of radio range. Randomly, the McLaren's coolant temperature decided to creep up by quite a few degrees when driving hard, enough to turn the coolant light on the dash from green to amber, which became quite distracting as I kept glancing down to look at it to see how high it would go. It did thankfully stop at 107 before making its way down on its own. I've already mentioned this to McLaren, and they don't seem too concerned unless it creeps a significant amount higher than normal. Something that is always quite funny on these tours is the fuel stops. Despite the groups leaving separately, we always seem to descend on the fuel station at the same time, causing complete chaos, much to the surprise of random passers-by and the locals. No one expects 20 supercars to turn up all at once on a Thursday morning. Anyway, we pushed on and the weather started to turn a little bit cloudy, but we got to our lunch stop without having seen a drop of rain yet. We all met at the Twice Brewed Inn for a pre-arranged lunch, and it was great to see all the cars in one place again, despite one of the guys getting a puncture on the way up. As we headed out just after 1, the weather took a slight turn for the worse, and things did get a little bit wet. Then, not too long after, a lot worse. Cattle grids, narrow bridges, and tight forest roads squeezing past tractors made for some interesting driving. The weather bounced between rain and sun for the next few hours as we headed west across Scotland towards the hotel. Not before causing more chaos at another fuel stop. Thankfully, the weather got a little bit better and the rain stopped as we arrived at the hotel. The hotel itself is a secluded manor house which was booked out almost entirely for the group, so it felt intimate and cozy with everyone just chilling out and having a good time. They had a snooker room, a bar, board games, cozy spots by the fire where everyone could relax with a drink and catch up on the day's events and driving. The surroundings are pretty awesome as well, surrounded by forests and farmland. There was a large fishing lake and a river just beyond the trees with some great views and nature. Okay, day 2. We weren't holding out any hopes for the weather, but in the morning the sky was relatively clear, and more importantly, it wasn't raining. At least not yet.
And you can't miss it, it's the golf.
Everyone saddled up, got the cars ready and prepared to head out. And the first stop was for fuel before we headed towards the coast for some amazing mountain roads and to get to the lunch stop at the Turnberry Golf Course. As is standard, we brought a local Tesco station to a standstill and filled the car park with cars, with the locals standing in amazement at the spectacle. As we headed out towards the hills, the weather held out and we found some dry tarmac and made the most of it while we could. Sadly though, this didn't last very long, and by 10:30 we were treated to some more rain. As we descended toward the coast, toward Turnberry, we did get a break in the weather and you could see out into the bay. From the road you could see the granite island which looked like something had landed out of space. Trump Turnberry was a special place as well. The entrance and grounds were quite cool, and we all piled inside to take a look around and find our tables. Definitely worth visiting if you haven't been before. They have a large pro shop there with loads of souvenirs and various club rooms with a bar and events space upstairs. The lower level is lined with trophies and museum-like cabinets full of historic artifacts and things like that. Our table overlooked the golf course with the granite island making a cool backdrop. Unfortunately, while having lunch, the weather took a bit of a dive and we weren't holding out much hope for our return drive back to the hotel. As we headed out, a little bit of blue sky gave us false hope because shortly afterwards we were treated to pretty much 2 hours of non-stop heavy rain. Not being too far from the hotel at this point, the group all communicated over the radio and we opted to end the day there and make a break for the hotel to get there for just after 5, relax at the bar, get ready for dinner that night. After another evening of laughs and great food, we hit the hay. The final morning saw people lining their cars up outside the hotel and congregating outside the entrance for some photographs with the club's resident photographer, Josh. He'd actually been out in the rain the entire 2 days, parked up at the roadside, taking shots of us blasting past in convoy. So shout out to Josh for staying out in all that. As the tour came to an end, a few people headed out early. We decided to skip the lunch stop and head back a little bit earlier to make a dent in the boring motorway drive home. I was traveling with a couple of friends, so we decided to all head out in a convoy south, stopping for some coffee and some breakfast, and reflect on a great trip and make some plans for next year. So that's pretty much it. I'll leave a link to SCUK in the description, so be sure to check that out. The car has behaved flawlessly the entire trip, which I am planning to do a full walk around video of the car stuff, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more trips coming soon. See you next time.